Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our Lunch and Learn, another Lunch and Learn that we're having. My name is Michelle Stewart-McKoy, and I will be taking you through the basics, the advanced features, a few advanced features of Padlet. Now, because we have offered a number of sessions before, I didn't want us to have a session in which we go through everything. So we're going to be focusing on three things today. We're going to be focusing on the audio feature, on the commenting feature, and we're going to look at one of the formats, the timeline. And this is how we will proceed. One, we are going to look at it from a student perspective, and then we're going to look at it from a teacher perspective, walking you through how to do that. Now, one of the things that I had asked, could you please sign up if you don't have Padlet? May I see by a raise of hand the number of persons who had signed up? Just raise your hands, look for the reaction button. And if you have an account already, raise your hand as well. Okay. Beautiful, beautiful. So you owning a Padlet is simply so that you can create whatever it is that we'll be going through. All right. Now, I know that I can start by saying what Padlet is, but I am sure that we have heard about Padlet. Some of us are very familiar with Padlet. So for those of us who are not too familiar, could you tell us what is Padlet? Anybody can open the mic and let us know. What exactly is Padlet? Open your mic, don't be shy. Have you ever used Padlet?
I was about to say that I have never even heard the word before.
All right, that's fine. So Padlet is what they call a digital canvas. Okay, so it's an online board. It's like a whiteboard, but Padlet is not just white. So it's an online board. You can use it for a number of things. So you can use it for synchronous sessions or asynchronous sessions. You can use it for individual activities or for collaborative tasks. You can use it with any subject area on any device. It can be used on any level of the Bloom's taxonomy. So if you just want students to recall information, you can use it. If you want students to synthesize or to create, you can use Padlet. So it's a multi-purpose online tool. You have to log in to use it. So well, let's start this session. So I'm going to start, you use it mostly for collaborative. That's good. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start by looking at one of the features. And as we go through that feature, I will give you some basic idea for those who have never used it. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. And at this point, I'm simply sharing. I will share the link after when I need you to post. All right, so let me share my screen. Let me know if you're seeing my screen.
Yes, I'm seeing.
Great. No, I have created a free version. If I'm not looking in the camera, I'm using two screens. So I'm looking at the other screen. Bear with me, please. So what I have done, I created my free account, just as you were encouraged to do this morning. And I have two Padlets, and I'm going to open the first one. All right. Now, in opening my Padlet, what you'll realize is that you see the title of the Padlet. You see some instructions here. And what I did was I repeated the instructions so it's clearer for those who have, a little challenge reading it here. I have the recording that I'll be using, and I have the first response. No, this is if I am seeking my students' input on the task that I have given them. One of the things that you'll realize, and this is just very quickly for those who are not familiar, is that if you move across, you'll realize that there are some icons to the right, and there is a big plus button at the bottom. The plus button is what you use to create your posts, okay? Now, somebody's mic is open. Mr. Facey, could you close that for me, please? Thank you. Now, what you will do is you use the icons to the right to set up your Padlets. Mr. Facey?
I'm looking, but I'm not seeing whose mic is open. Take a look.
Tashika Boris Melville's mic is open.
Oh yeah, I saw it.
All right, great. Thank you so much. All right. Now, if you scroll down to your settings, and Padlet has done some changes. So for those persons who have come to workshops before, you'll realize that the interface is a little different. So they have different headings. So you have the heading, which is what we see here. You have the appearance, which has to do with the wall color, the icons, and so forth. You have the layout, which has to do with whether or not you want reactions or posts. I click on the wrong thing. Layout, which has to do with how you are going to group your posts. You have posting, which has to do with whether or not you're going to turn on or off reactions, whether or not you're going to filter profanity, and so forth. You have content, which has to do with when your students post, are you going to review the information before you make it visible? And then you have what they call advanced, which is where you have a number of other features, such as your URL, saving your posts, and so forth. All right. And if you click on the three dots give you that kind of information as well. You can archive, you can remake, you can do a number of things. Okay. So the plus is what is very important for your students. If you click on the plus sign, this is where you're able to put your subject in, select whether or not you're going to be uploading a file. So you can upload a text file, you can put a link, you can put an image, you can record yourself, you can upload a video, you can do just about anything. So this is one of the beautiful things about Padlet. It has that deep multi-purpose function, which allows you to do so many things. And then, of course, it fosters that kind of inclusive nature that we talk about, trying to reach as many students as possible. So for this particular one, I'm going to talk us through, and then I am going to invite your participation. So we're looking at it from a student's perspective first, and then we are going to look at it from the facilitator. So here I have a scenario where it's a class that deals with, customer service, let's say customer service, and there are usually recordings of what happens, and this could be used as an authentic type of activity. And so you have a recording as a supervisor from Dolores. I made the name up. And so you are going to review the recording, and you're going to leave a voice note for Dolores so that she can have this going forward. So it simply says that you are going to watch the recording, and then you are going to post the recording. All right, so let me reshare and share sound so that you can hear. All right, so I'm going to play the video.
No, Mom's gonna do the turkey. Yeah, Dad wants ambrosia, so I guess we gotta get those miniature marshmallows. And I'll do the crescent rolls, and you do the No, Mom's gonna do the turkey. Yeah, Dad wants ambrosia, so I guess we gotta get those miniature marshmallows. And I'll do the crescent rolls, and you do the cranberries. You know I can't cook. Oh. Yeah, well, I'll see you tomorrow then. Gobble, gobble. Oh, bye-bye.
All right, now, after you have watched that, what you would say to your students is, okay, having seen the video, you are going to leave a voice note. how do you leave a voice note for her? This is what you're going to do. You're going to click on the plus sign, and then you're going to put a subject. So you're going to put review or whatever it is you want to put. This is where you're going to encourage creativity among your students. So review of your video. And then you're going to click on the three dots. Now you notice that I've also put the instructions here for the students. So you're going to click on the three dots, and then you're going to go where it says audio recording. Click on audio recording. And then you will click on the pink or depending on the color. I think different colors for different devices as you load. So click on the audio, the mic. And then for some persons, if this is the first time you're doing it, it will ask for permission, whether or not Padlet is seeking permission to use your device. Simply say allow or yes. And then when you click on recording, you are going to record. Dolores, I have seen your videos. You are very comfortable, friendly laugh. However, there were issues or whatever it is. You're going to name what it is. You are going to click the stop button when you're finished. Click on playback and save. When you click on recording, you are going to record. Okay, you're pleased with it. And then you click save. Okay, it will take a little time. So there, that is finished. And when you're finished, you click on publish. So far, there are 2 reviews for Dolores. What I'm going to do at this point, because we're doing a hands-on feel of it, I am going to share with you in the chat the link to go to this Padlet. You can play the video again on your own if you will, and then you can respond. So this is just to give you a feel of how you as the participant, you are from the student perspective, would do this. So please let me know if when you click on the link that I have shared in the chat, if it opens. And then close your mic so that the recording doesn't come into this recording, and post, please. You don't have to put your name, just simply put a subject, post a recording, and wonderful, great, thank you. So post a recording, and let's talk a little bit more about that. So I'll give you 3 minutes, 4 minutes. It's 14 past on my device. I can give you 5 minutes. So at 19 past, I will continue. And I'm right here if there are any questions or any challenges that you're having. I'll just turn my mic off while you're doing that. So just to let you know, at this point, you're not working on your Padlet. You're working on mine.
Sorry, but my thing said that my thing was muted, but you said shut the mic so that we're not hearing anything.
Oh. Oh. So you were trying to do the recording in Zoom?
Yes, it seems so.
No.
Yeah, okay.
So don't record in Zoom. Simply I'm gonna stop sharing so that this doesn't cause any confusion. So what you do when you open the link, and there was no issues, yes?
Yes, no link, no problem.
All right. And then when you click on the plus, share your screen. This is Olivine?
Yes.
All right, share your screen, Olivine.
No.
What happened? All right, so you're the person doing Dolores?
Yes.
All right, so when you click on the 3 dots, click on the 3 dots. The three dots in the pink box, right? And
Oh,
then
wait.
click on audio recording. And
Yes.
then click on the pink recording, the pink icon,
Mhm.
and then record.
Okay.
So go ahead. That's a long message. Wonderful. So one of the things that, let me share about my screen. So Olivine is scrolling. That's fine. I'll just use Olivine's screen. So one of the things you'll realize is that as your students post, the reviews come up. All right. So Olivine, I will keep your screen up for now. Could you reshare and share sound? So click on reshare and scroll down and click on share sound. You stopped sharing. All right, so play any one of these so that you can hear.
Okay, I have looked at the video that you have uploaded for review. I think it is a very stimulating and engaging clip, and I really do look forward to continuing to discuss the importance of good customer service as we, continue this module in the course. Thank you.
So who did that? Nobody, nothing wrong with what she was doing? Remember that the instruction says, highlight the positive, speak about the negative, and then give the recommendation. All right. So, and I'm happy this happened because it gives you the chance to talk to the student to say, this is one of the things that you will need to remember. The instruction says, highlight the positive, point out the negative, and then you give your recommendation. Could you play another one for me, please? Play another one for me, please, Olivine. Just a minute, Hope. Coming to you. Let Olivine play a second one.
I think she's playing mine. I didn't follow the instructions as to what the student. I was just getting
But it
it.
was very funny.
All right. Okay. All right. That's fine.
This recording was
Okay.
very funny. I wasn't sure how to respond to it, but the expressiveness of the character was great.
Okay. So you were giving feedback. You were recording just now, Dr. Chisholm, or you were just giving general feedback? Because your mic was open.
I played his recording.
Oh, it's the recording. It sounded like as if he was speaking. I'm sorry. Okay.
I think we can tell which ones have things because they have the number on it. So for instance, look at Hope's. It didn't have any number on it. To tell the number of seconds.
You mean how long it is?
Yeah,
Yes. That's good. That's good. Thank you so much. So essentially what this was is just to give you a feel of what would happen if your students were using the recording feature to give feedback. Now, one of the things, I'm going to stop sharing your screen, Olivine. Thank you so much. And I'm going to reshare. Now, one of the things that you could do also, so we just looked at how to use the recording aspect, how students could use it. And then, of course, I showed you how you could set it up. pretty much, because that's exactly what you do. If you wanted to give students to give feedback on the quality of the feedback that was given to Dolores, this is where you could now combine the comments feature. So yes, go ahead. The hand that's up, Kimberly.
Hi, thank you for acknowledging me. Dr. Stewart-McKoy. All right.
It's
So I
Michelle.
did
Not Dr. as yet, it's Michelle.
all right, and it's Kim. When I tried to do it for myself, and I was recording, so I could hear I heard myself when I did the playback, but I was also hearing everybody else as well. So I was hearing you talking to Olivine and the other person's presentation that was playing. What did I do incorrectly? So I didn't publish it. I discarded it.
That's fine. I think that simply happened because while you were recording, other persons were speaking. So it's just as if you were in a room doing a recording, other voices would have come up. So I don't know if you were using a headpiece. Were you using a headpiece?
No, I wasn't.
So that also could have contributed to it. So that's simply your background noise, your surrounding noise. So you didn't do anything wrong. It's just that if you had earphones where you could easily block those voices out, you could do your recording without those being picked up. But because you didn't have earphones, what it did was it simply picked up the sounds that were around you.
Oh, so if you're doing this in a class setting, and the students may not have a headphone, how would we treat with that so that they're not picking up each other as they're recording on the Padlet if we're doing it in class?
So if you're doing it in class, it means that you'd have to set up very strict instructions. X is going to record, the class has to be quiet, and you probably give a timer so that as each person records in class, that happens. Persons know that they would have to be quiet because everything would be picked up in the recording.
Okay, thank you very much.
No problem. Hope your hand is up.
Yes, I did my recording, but it's saying the media could not be loaded either because the server or network failed. So I don't know if it's because I'm using my phone why this happened.
Quite possible. Quite possible.
Go ahead.
So I'm happy that these are happening because it also gives us data and information that we can use to guide students. So you would probably say to students, if you're on your phone and you're using Wi-Fi, or you're on your phone and you're using data in an area that is choppy, it is quite likely that this would happen. So we get this kind of information so that we can be better prepared when we talk to our students. All right. Okay, great. Go ahead, Nicole.
Okay. Good morning, Michelle, and good morning to everyone here. All right. So in response to that question, I'm not sure if this might help. I'm new to Padlet as well, but when I went to register for it this morning, one of the things I noticed is that it offers a mobile app. And so sometimes when using a mobile phone, if you're working from, say, a link that is, set up for a PC or a laptop, the optimization for mobile is not there. But Padlet does have a mobile app. And so that might also help with the fluency of recordings and getting rid of some of that choppiness.
Great. Thank you so much for that. I know that they were working on one. I just wasn't paying attention to it being out. But thank you so much for that piece of information. So again, we have that which we can share with our students. If you're going to be using your phone, download the app. Thank you so much, Nicole. Okay, so what I was saying next is that in this same space, we can then turn our ratings on if we want to use ratings, but more so comments. Comments, I find, have to be treated with gloves. So if you're going to have students use comments, use one of the approaches that are out there, one of the models on feedback. Start with something positive, highlight a concern, make a recommendation. All right, ask a question. So you will have to say to students, this has nothing to do with the person's comment or the person's recording. These are the things you should look for. And if you have a marking scheme or a rubric that speaks to the things that you can look for, then you make it clear, you discuss it with the students beforehand. So one of the things that you can do is, are you still seeing my screen? Are you seeing my screen in your thought? Okay, great. So you go over, and this is where we're going to turn the comments on. All right. And so we're going to go and we're going to go over to where it says posting. And you scroll on to where it says comments. So it's currently off because you notice there's nothing below. So if you turn it on right away, you'll realize that you see your little icon or some icon that represents you. And then you see add a comment. This is where you would have to say, add a comment on the audio recordings of the supervisors. Say whether or not you think the comments are fair or if the comments were adequate, meaning they provided all the information. And what you could do too, you could easily put a reaction to the kind of feedback that was given. So if I select star, I usually use star. I steer away from grades unless I'm using graduate students. I use a star because the star gives you a range from 1 to 5. Voting the thumbs up or down, usually comments have some positive and negative, and for you to choose like or dislike, it gives you just a black or white option. So I usually use a star, and then when I click save, it means that you can now go ahead and make a comment. Now, this is not encouraged in our classrooms, but just for purposes of practice and because time is of the essence, I would like you to just make a rating and make a comment. Now, your rating should be aligned to the comments that you make. So you can't give 1 star and then make a comment. Brilliant. So these are some of the things that you would have to guide your students when you're encouraging them to use the comment feature in your classroom. So just for purposes of demonstration, I would like you to go in, make a rating you have the opportunity to rank from 1 to 5, and you simply put the cursor where you want the star to be, and that will turn up. Okay, so make your rank 1 to 5 stars and add a comment, please. A hand is up. Is that an old hand or is that a new hand? Kim?
Oh no, old hand, old hand. Let me lower it.
Okay.
I lowered it for you.
Thanks, Mr.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm being asked to reshare the Padlet link. Padlet link reshared. No problem. I'm just checking to see if I see any comments. So I see rating. I'm not really seeing any comments as yet. So remember where you see add a comment. All right. So I see where Jeremy has made a comment. And because you can use this in a synchronous session, you can easily have a discussion right here and then on the kinds of comments were made. You can then carry the discussion even further, asking a number of questions. Now, for those who have anonymous, this is because these persons don't have an account. If you want to see your students' names, you could then do one of two things. You could set your Padlet so that they have to log in, or two, you encourage them that when they make their comment, they put their first name or last name or whatever system that you want them to use. All right. So students are able to see the comments, and then you can even have a discussion on the kind of feedback. You know, you can have a qualitative kind of discussion that speaks to the quality of the feedback that is given, because we encourage students to engage in peer review. And this is also one way of having the information, having them practice, and then have that kind of discussion about the quality of the feedback. All right. And as many persons who rate or make comments, it shows. So 2 persons have commented on the first audio review of your video, and 3 persons have rated. We know because 3 beside 3, that tells us how many persons have ranked, and the comments 2 besides the icon tells us that 2 persons have commented. So you can gather quite a bit of information right here on this board. Okay. Now, there is one more Padlet that we're going to look at, and then we are going to create our own Padlets. Okay. So thank you very much for the involvement so far. But this is essentially how we could use the audio component. All right. All we need to do is set up our clear instructions, and then we put whatever prompt it is that we're going to be using, and then we give the students instructions on how to create the audio component. Okay. And remember, even if they know about the tools, even if they know about technology, even if they're on their phones every day, we still need, for educational purposes, to provide them with the instructions, with the guidelines. We don't assume. And when you're using the audio feature, it doesn't have to be just for them to watch something and give the feedback. We can use the audio aspect of Padlet for creating podcasts. Podcasts are becoming more and more popular again. There were the hype when they just came in, and they're coming back with quite a vengeance in terms of popularity. So you have your podcast that you can set up right here. You have an audio blog, if you will. You have oral presentations that students can make right here, and you could easily have them incorporate a video component. But right now we're focusing on the oral. You can use it for audio feedback. You can use it for students in classes that have communication elements to practice or fine tune for foreign languages and so forth. And you could also use the audio as an exit ticket, just before they leave, let them post an audio note saying what gray areas exist for them and that sort of thing. So a number of things you could do with that is fine. You're switching your device. So a number of things you can do with the audio component. And remember that Padlet allows you to do so many different things. We're just focusing on Padlet, on the audio right now. Okay. Now, the other thing that we said that we would be doing is that we would be looking at the timeline. The timeline is one of the formats. Okay. So Padlet gives you several formats. So you have what they call the wall, which is just like little boxes that are packed like on a brick wall. And then grid is similar to the wall, but it's closer packed, very neatly packed. You have what we call the column. And I think they have changed the column. They have called it something different now. Let me tell you what they call it now. Wall with sections. So the column, which was called shelf, they have renamed it, but it does the same thing. So if you have students working in groups, you can have 3 different groups and you see how that looks. And I can show you when we're finished, if time allows, using some other Padlets that I've created. And then, of course, you have the timeline, which is what we're going to be looking at. And you have the map. The map is where you can use a map and you drop a pin and you put information. We're not looking at that today, but that is also a great feature to use. And we have what we call the canvas. This is where you have your grid and you move them where you move the Padlets wherever you want. And then you put connectors, so the things that are connected to whatever. You have little connectors that you can put what is associated with what and what is linked with what. So those are the different formats. And more than likely, we'll have other sessions that focus on those, but right now we're just focusing on the timeline as a format. Now, the timeline can be used for a number of things. You can use it to create a story. You can use it to do a day in the life of. You can use it for historical sequence of events. You can use it to categorize information. You can use it for students to pull from a puzzle or from a piece, synthesize information and put it together. So you can use the timeline for a number of things. The interface for the timeline is slightly different. They have updated it. So before, you would see a line running across the screen with some plus and minuses. Well, plus signs, not minuses. And therefore, you would click on the plus sign, whether before or after, and put your information in. They have done it in this way now that it no longer carries the plus sign, but it does the same thing that the other did. So what I'm going to do right now, I am going to just read the instructions to you, and then I am going to paste the link in the chat. Well, I've pasted the link in the chat. So for this one, who doesn't like a James Bond movie? Okay, so there is a franchise of James Bond actors based on different movies. And so for this particular light one, we are tracing the different actors, starting from the earliest one to the latest, of Bond, James Bond movie actors. And so we are, you can decide whether or not you want this to be individual or group work. I'm just throwing it out right now. You are going to do, for this task, create a timeline of the different actors, not the movies, not the years, the actors, which means that if you're doing something like this with your students, you'd have to tell them that some actors span a period of time, and you would have to put that. I have put an example in so that students can use this, a sort of scaffolding thing. So you start with this and you move on to the others. So I have an example of the very first. Did you know that it wasn't Sean Connery who was the first one? It was actually this man, Barry Nelson. He was the very, very, very first James Bond. So in 1954, so I have an image of him. I have his name, I have the year, and I have that he was the first Bond. So we are just going to do 2 or maybe 3. Find a Bond, find the year that he was James Bond, probably the movie that or movies that he acted in, and add it to the timeline. Now, when you're going to add it to the timeline, you'll realize that if you right click on the one that's before, you can add the post before or after. If you click add before, you get the same box, you put your information in, and when you click publish, it goes before. Okay, so be mindful of that. I'm just going to delete this post. Be mindful of that. When you go in, you will have to decide whether it goes before or after. I have made it a little easy for you because I have done the very first. So everything goes after. It's just where after, depending on who you have found. All right, so for this one, I'm also going to give you 5 minutes. Find a Bond picture, put in the name of the actor and the year, and possibly in your box, the name of the movie. How do you do that? Let me quickly go. Click on the plus sign, click the name of the author, of the actor. So let me put Connery, and you can put the years that he was active in bracket. I'm going to delete this when I'm finished. This is just sample. And then you click on, I think the very first one is upload a file. So if you find the image of him and download it on your computer, you can click on this. It will bring you to where you browse and you put the image in. It will take a little time before it shows. And then below that, where it says write something, you will write the name of the movie. So you'll put the name of the movie. And I know Sean Connery was in a number of movies. And when you're finished and satisfied, you click published and it will turn up. All right. So let me delete this, and you have, and to delete, you simply go to the 3 dots. Scroll down to the bottom where it says delete post, and then you delete. You can only delete your post. You cannot delete anybody else's. It wasn't set that way. All right. See it coming up. Nice, nice, nice. All right. So I'll give you 5 minutes. Oh Lord, you're messing up the timeline. Let us see if we can move it. Huh. Oh, I can move it. Could you try to see if you can actually move it? I think I may have to do a little bit of adjustment as to what happens.
I think I just moved it.
Okay, great, great. Wow, this is looking good. So I'm going to stop us now. I'm going to stop us now. I just wanted you to get a feel of how you could use the timeline. All right. So if you scroll across, you would see the different information. And of course, if this is being done as a live session, you would discuss the placement. But I see it seems as if, yeah, we have it in, and people are still putting in information, which is great. So you can use the timeline feature not just for sequencing of well, not just chronological order or a sequence of events. You can use it for anything else, anything that requires you putting something together. So it could be used for even a story, for building a plot. You know, if you want students to put their ideas together, you could use it for that. Any questions before I take us to the point where you now are going to create your Padlet? Any questions? Any comments? Is anybody lost?
Yes,
No.
you find this.
All right, I heard two voices just now. The person who just spoke, go ahead.
No, I was saying I couldn't even find this. I couldn't. I
You
don't
can
remember how you got here. No.
How you got where?
To the timeline feature.
Oh, I had created a timeline. So I'm going to walk us through how you can create your own timeline now. So you're not lost. You were actually working on my Padlet. That's Olivine?
Yes, but I couldn't even find yours. I mean, everybody else found it, but I couldn't even find yours.
Did you get logged out? Because I posted the link in the chat.
Oh, a different link. Sorry.
Yes, it was a different link. All right, so that may have explained that. And then Nicole, I think your hand was up.
Oh, thank you. It's fine. You said you're going to walk us through the steps to creating our timeline. So
Yes.
I await that. Thank you.
Okay. Paula Ann, I'm glad you could join us. Your hand is up. Go ahead.
Yes, thanks. It doesn't allow me to reorder. Is that because I didn't create it?
No, but Deidre didn't create, and she said she thinks she
could?
reordered.
I got something that says cannot reorder post.
Deidre, what did you get?
Let me try again.
Yes, and let me know.
Or maybe I
I
know
just
what
tried
it is.
again and got that message.
I know what it is. We
what
can't
is it?
reorder other people's posts. We can only reorder our own.
Oh.
Yours, yes.
Okay.
Yes. So in the same way, you cannot delete anybody else's post unless the facilitator sets it that way. So you can move your post, you can delete your post, but you can't trouble other person's post. And that I'm happy that happens, because it means that you can reduce the kind of chaos that is likely to happen when people delete things and remove things. So it's a way of you keeping that kind of control, but then you tell the students. So in the same way that I said, you are unable to edit anybody else's post or so. You as a facilitator, though, when you create it, you can actually set it that way so that you can give that kind of permissions to people. All right. Okay. So now we are going to create our own Padlet, and I'm going to stop sharing so that I don't use the screen to confuse you. while you're doing that. So what you're going to do at this point, you're going to open your Padlet. All right. So you're going to open your Padlet. I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm just not going to keep my screen on the board, So you're going to go to your Padlet. And if you haven't created a Padlet as yet, you are going to click on Make a Padlet. If you have the maximum 3 Padlets, what I will tell you to do is right click on the Padlet and select Archive. What Archive does is that it puts it away and you can actually use another. You can create another Padlet. Okay, so it's one way of you always using the maximum 3 if you archive the others. All right, so you can only use 3 at a time, but you can have more than 3. So if you have more than 3 right now and you need to create a new one, just archive any one. Okay, so when you do that, you click on Make a Padlet. And if you get lost at any point, let me know. Go ahead, Paula.
When I archive it, can I shift around by unarchiving in case I want it back?
Yes.
Okay.
As simple as that. You'll see something that a little section that says archived. Let me show you. I also have archived in this one. So I have archived. So when I click on, I don't have anything in my archive now. But yes, if you go to unarchive, let me archive this one. All right. So when I go to archive, there it is. And I simply right click and select unarchive and it brings it back into the main section. Let me do that for you. Unarchive. And when I go to all, it's there. All right.
Great. Thank you.
So have we all clicked on Make a Padlet?
Yes, miss.
All right. And when you click on Make a Padlet, this time you'll simply just scroll down to where it says timeline. All right, I'm going to stop sharing. All right, when you click on timeline, it just looks like a normal empty Padlet to you. However, once you start adding, the information will be showing on a timeline. So what you would do is where you see my distinguished Padlet, my fantastic Padlet, my great Padlet, whatever Padlet, you put the name of your Padlet. Yes, Jessie, go ahead.
Hi, I'm not sure where you went to get my timeline.
All right, share your screen. This is the sharing aspect, so that's fine. Share your screen.
Okay.
And we will take it from there.
Are you seeing it?
Yes. All right.
Okay.
So you see, go back to the 3 dots to the right, click back on it and go to change format.
Change form. Okay.
And then you see timeline at the very bottom. That is what you would click on.
Okay.
All right. So keep this up. Don't close, don't stop sharing.
Okay.
So in order to change, so that you don't want your students to see something that is called my swanky Padlet. So what you would do, you would go back to the settings icon. You can use the 3 dots or you can use the settings, the one right above that. And where it says title, this is where you'll write the name of your title.
Yeah. You can actually click on, well, for me, I just clicked on the word, the my.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work on all platforms. So I usually don't. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So you type it in and type your description.
All right.
Of course, you can change your wallpaper and so forth, but right now we're focusing on creating a timeline.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much. Now you're going to start the timeline. So for each person, are we good in creating the timeline information so far? Yes.
Working on it. Yes. Naming it and such.
So the next thing you're going to do, you're going to put three possible events on your timeline so you can see it coming together. All right. So any 3 things, you can drop an image in, you can drop a file, but ensure that your subject line is clear. It gives you a clear indication of what this event is. And then you can put an image. If you desire an image, we tend to say use images as much as possible. because visuals do so much within a teaching and learning environment. And then, of course, you depending on what it is you have, you don't need to add any additional information. If it is something that requires additional information, you put it where it says, write something spectacular, something fantastic, something exceptional. And then if you want to share, I'd love to see what you're doing. One of the things you should do if you're going to be using Padlet and you're going to be using the timeline feature, the audio feature, whatever feature you're using, make sure that in addition to verbally telling students how to add their post, you write it somewhere on the Padlet post. So I tend to put it in the instructions at the top, but I also create a post that stays at the front as the first post that has the instructions. This is what you're going to do, and this is how you do it. So it is clear to the students what it is they're supposed to do. Any volunteers for those who want to share? Jesse, your hand is up. You want to share?
Sorry, that's not let me lower it.
Anybody wants to share? Nobody?
I think persons are still working, Michelle.
We're not quick like you, teacher. Give me a little time. Sorry.
All right, that's fine. That's fine. But you do see how this could be used in a classroom, and it doesn't have to be a classroom that is online. This can be used for a classroom that is also a face-to-face class in which you give the students this activity as an asynchronous activity. So remember that although we are using technologies, just as if we're using any other kind of technology. So where you would tell students to go and take pictures and come back, you can say there is a Padlet activity for you to complete. You need to do it by X time. And as you work on your Padlets, I just want to remind us that Padlet is a tool. It's just another tool, just like all the other tools you have met. What is critical, what is important, and what must be emphasized is the pedagogical principles. So you have to ensure that you have your clear learning outcomes and that you have you're more inclined to use the higher order level skills, that you ensure that your activities are clearly reflected in the outcomes that you have, that you guide your students, that you present the kind of information that you want them to emulate. Ensure that if you're giving feedback, the kind of feedback that you give is driven by one of the feedback approaches or one of the models that exist. As much as possible, think of authentic assessments, especially in the face of artificial intelligence and the rise of ChatGPT. So we have to be thinking of authentic ways, and this is a very good one. Remember, everybody, some students will read, some students will want to watch the videos, some students will want to see the visuals only, some students would want to listen. So when you use Padlet as a tool, because it has that kind of potential, you can include different students, all the students right across the spectrum. Ensure that you facilitate that learning environment, so you guide them accordingly. You be very careful with how they do comments or give feedback to each other on work that is done. And have fun. You know, your students know when you're enjoying your classes, you know, and the more your students enjoy the classes, the more you enjoy your class. So just remember, it's just another tool, okay? Just another tool. It's just that it needs to be used well. How are we doing? Still working?
Good, good, good. I have to come from it to unmute.
Yes,
Almost
still
there.
working.
All right. So while you're still working, because this is me wrapping up while you're working. So while you're working, I just want to remind you that the CETL, we are having a number of what we call teaching emphasis days. And so this Lunch and Learn is one of them. The last Lunch and Learn that Dr. Chisholm had facilitated, which looked at classroom assessment techniques, that is also one of our teaching emphasis days. We have another Lunch and Learn coming up on the next lunch and learn is the 31st, next week Wednesday, and we're going to be looking at the overall feedback feature that's in Moodle. People have seen it, don't really understand what it is about. Very few have admitted to use it. For those who have, the students have said that they love it. So we're going to be looking at how do we do that, and we're going to test it. We're going to set our grade boundaries. So that we have coming up on the 31st. On the 30th, we have a Zoom forum discussion that looks at artificial intelligence, ChatGPT, and the other prompt generators. So we'll be having a discussion on the Caribbean perspective and looking at some practical solutions. And then we have a town hall meeting. We had one already that looked at faculty evaluation. We have another one coming up on, when is the next faculty town hall, Damien?
It's tomorrow.
Tomorrow, Thursday, from 11. It's 11?
Yes, 11 to 12.
11 to 12. So this one is for UE personnel only though. So I know that we have some persons who are external to the university who are here. The town hall meeting is for UE. And Mr. Facey has been gracious enough to drop these files into the chat so you can take a look at them.
And that one is on giving feedbacks.
Giving feedback. Yes, thank you. The town hall tomorrow is on giving feedback. So we're going to have a discussion so we can get your perspective and proceed accordingly. Thank you very much, Mr. Facey. Yes, Paula Ann.
May I share my screen?
You may.
There you go.
Okay.
Silly, but just to get it.
It's just to get a hands-on of what. So you have
so the first one is
introduction.
It's actually a link. So if I wanted to invite them, because you can not only put images but links, so I put a link there. So I'm assuming that if you click on it,
well, you haven't shared the link with us, but website. I'm assuming that yes.
And then the others were just the have-ones.
Yes, and so of course for today's session, we are just practicing, but if you're doing this, please remember to share the link with your students. You can share the link by simply going to the top of your Padlet and copying that and sharing it with your students, and they would have access so that they can post. All right, so that is one of the simplest ways of doing that. Remember also, give the students clear instruction, not just verbally, but also in writing. Any last comment, any last question? It is 1 o'clock. And I know that we have other activities, but I just wanted us to wrap this up. Any last comment or question? Yes, Thera, we can work something out for you. Not a problem. The CETL is here and we do have one-on-one consultations. Thank you, Paula. Is this that you could use with your students?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. For those who have been using it and haven't ventured very far, do you now think that you'd consider using the timeline feature or using the comment feature or using the audio aspect?
I was just going to say I really like the timeline feature. And I can see students having fun with it. So definitely we'll be trying it out.
Okay, great. So thank you very much, colleague. Go ahead.
You said that there is a podcast feature. I'm interested in that.
Oh, it's not a podcast feature. You can use it to set up your podcast.
Okay. Right. And the other question is, so this works with RVLE, so I could
yes. Right. You know what I think I will probably do next? Because Moodle is ideally learning in a box. Everything is set up so that you don't have to leave. So we tend to embed. So, we can embed videos so that the students don't have to go to YouTube and then get distracted by other things. We don't necessarily need to take them out of Orville to come to the Padlet site, we can embed a Padlet in. It looks and feels and operates the same way, and it makes it a little easier where instructions are concerned. So I think one of the lunch and learns that we will definitely do is walk you through embedding any kind of external activity into the Orville platform. So that was Nicole. Nicole, you were asking about the embedding?
No, with Olivine. Well, I wasn't asking about embedding. I was asking if this works with it. I was thinking, well, as I said, I was thinking of podcasting, so I wanted to know that. And they have to have a Padlet account in order to do this.
In order to create,
every student will have to have a Padlet account.
In order to create. However, as the teacher, as the main person, you can create a Padlet. You can have a Padlet and you can create other Padlets. So you can create a Padlet and have the other students be a member of your Padlet. So as they create theirs, it shows up on your Padlet. So if you're thinking of a class podcast and you want all those podcasts to show up on one Padlet, you can create I can walk you through that, Olivine. You can create your account and you can have your students on your account so that each time they create their podcast Padlet, it shows up on yours. So you don't have to be going to all these different links.
So it could be assigned as groups, group work. Each group has a podcast.
It can be assigned as group, yes, but you can actually have the individual podcast on your Padlet. So you see, just like how we had our little audio, each person's Padlet podcast would turn up there, but they have their own account. I'll show you.
When you say podcast, are you referring to the audio recording as a podcast, or are you referring to official podcasts with things like Anchor and so on?
I don't know if that's what she's referring to, but because I had said you could use the audio component and set up your Padlet as a podcast, I was taking it from there.
Asking. So the audio recordings.
Yes, in that sense, yes.
Thank you.
No problem. All right. So thanks again, ladies and gentlemen. It's a little after 1, and we will make the recording available. Just simply send an email, but we are also posting our Lunch and Learns to our CETL YouTube channel. So please subscribe so that you'll see anything that pops up right there. All right. Thanks again and enjoy the rest of the afternoon.
Thank you, Michelle, and thank you, Cecil.
Thank you. Yes.
Thanks.
Thanks, Michelle. Excellent as always.
Thank you.